Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and anyone else who may be watching this edition of the MFHL podcast. Got to change the title up here in the top. My apologies for this. Starting off this week wonderfully already, but there we go. It's episode 2 of the MFHL podcast here on G-Show Productions, brought to you by Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, as well as Terraco and Goaltenders. For Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, be sure to visit their store locations in Brandon and Winnipeg today. Your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. Visit their website as well at midcanadafasteners.shop to take a look at all of their great products before you may want to make a purchase there. For Terraco, of course, they are serving Manitoba producers and have been doing so for over 80 years. Check out their website at Terraco.ca to learn more about the wonderful products and services that they offer to Manitoba producers in the agricultural industry. And we're also brought to you by Goaltenders, like I said, your goalie's personal video review service. Check out GordyTumelsonGoalies.ca to learn more about what the service is all about, a virtual goaltending coaching service, which I think is pretty darn cool. Happy to have Gordy's brand along with the two others along with Sport G Show Productions here. But in week number 3 or number 4 at this point of the MFHL, the season is well underway. We've seen the standings not quite take shape, but pretty interesting. Of course, the just taking a look at it. It's strange. These aren't the standings from the past week in the MFHL, but I'll let you guys know about those in just a moment. There were only 2 games that were played in the past weekend in the MFHL, and that was the Westman Wildcats taking on the Interlake Lightning twice. Westman winning in both of those games, finishing their weekend with a strong shutout performance of a score of 5-0. They won that game, and I had a chance to catch up with their head coach. He's their interim head coach this season, as Guy Williams is on medical leave, and that is Tony Franklin. I had a chance to ask him about what it's like going into a head coaching position again, speaking about this year's squad of Westman Wildcats players, talking about juggling his philosophy along with what Guy Williams' philosophy is, and also talking about the huge upcoming weekend that team has, first up against the Yellowhead Chiefs, and secondly against the Winnipeg Ice. So without further ado, we'll bring on Tony Franklin to start things off here on this edition of the MFHL podcast, brought to you by Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, Terraco, and Goaltenders. And joining me first up on the second ever edition of the MFHL podcast here on G-Show Productions is new bench boss this season for the Westman Wildcats, Tony Franklin. Tony, thank you for coming on and joining me. What's it been like transitioning into a new role this year as the Westman Wildcats head coach, taking over for Guy Williams?
Yeah, it's been a busy couple of months. The whole idea of being an interim head coach was to try to provide that opportunity. If Guy can return partway through the season, then I can, would graciously step back and allow him to take over. But, thankfully, he's been well enough to meet with me and keep me up to speed on, the way he likes things done when it comes to tactical systems and just the day-to-day operations of the team. So I'm trying to keep that as close to the way he would do things, in the hopes that he'll be able to rejoin the team here at Christmas time or sooner if possible.
Yeah, and obviously wanting to follow his philosophy, since what he's instilled here is a huge part of why this Westman Wildcats team has been able to have so much success, especially in the past 2 years, making back-to-back finals. But what's that transition been like for you to follow another coaching staff's philosophy or a coach's philosophy while trying to also stay true to yourself and implement your own style?
Yeah, that's right. It's been a bit of a dance, that's for sure. Guy's been fantastic. He has kind of, let me run with it in certain areas, and then certainly gives me feedback when I ask him for it. And it's been a few years since I've been at the head coaching position, so there certainly has been adjustment. But the staff that the rest of the staff have been it's been excellent to have, right from Chris Page has been helping Guy run the defense for a number of years now, and Blair Bodie was with the program last year, and she's back, and an alumni by the name of Megan Robertson, and she's married now and is her last name's Holleran. So we've got a real great staff, and Dan Averill rounds out our goaltending coach as a goaltending coach. So I've really leaned on that group, and just tried to be trying to collaborate with that group the best way I can.
For you had told me before we had gone live here to record this interview that you have a history in coaching, having history coaching Westman's U15 program, coaching on the male side, and also coaching provincially at the Canada Games for Team Manitoba back in 2010 and 2011. Speak about how you feel your experiences help you at this point in terms of stepping into a role, like you said, where you haven't taken a head coaching position in quite some time.
Right. What I learned, and what I learned about the female game back then, especially at the higher level, is it's such a you don't really realize how physical it is for firstly, and secondly is it's such a game of possession. So I've tried to take some of the things that I observed and some of the things we learned when I was coaching Team Manitoba, because a lot of the tactics and a lot of the things we implement, are things that we know can help them be successful at that highest level. So, and as I said, I'm sure we'll get into a little bit about our group, but it really is a combination of skating, that and mobility coupled with physical toughness. And for anyone that's watched the game at this level, there is a lot of contact and there's a lot of physicality.
Yeah, and that's something that's been mentioned by Ferdy Nelson. He does all the social media for the league and is coached in the MFHL. That it seems like the teams that are physical and are able to be in a clean manner are the teams that are going to have that success out there. Speaking of the group, like you had mentioned, 4-2 through 6 games, second place in the league, 2 wins this past weekend over Interlake in Stonewall, 20 goals for, 12 goals against so far this year. This team has 12 returnees and 8 rookies. Talk about this year's group, the mix of players this year, along with the new ones and the old ones.
Yeah, I mean, we do, as you said, Graham, there are 8 rookies, and so there is some youth on the team, but we also have some experience on the team. And when I look at the group from top to bottom, I think we have a really good mix of size and of speed. When you play against a team like Yellowhead, or you play against a team like the Avros, they're going to be physical, and you've got to be, you have to have people that can match that battle. And even this past weekend, Interlake is there's no easy games in this league, and there's going to be nights where our speed is going to be helpful, but as you mentioned, it's those 50-50 puck battles, and those little races and those little one-on-one battles that happen throughout the game that usually makes the difference in the ability to come out with a win.
Yeah, and of course, this team lost some talent from last year. Of course, different goaltending, some different players up front on the back end, but overall, some key returning players coming back. One of them being Paige Crossley, leading the team in goals and tied for the goals lead right now in the MFHL. Talk about how big her impact has been to start things off this year, being able to score the goals she has.
Definitely, we what's worked to Paige's benefit is we've basically got 3 centermen that we're rotating through. We've got 11 forwards, and we rotate, 3 centermen through with 4 lines, and Paige has really taken advantage of that opportunity. I mean, throughout her grade 10 year, I watched her play all year last year, and she has a very good shot, and it was just a matter of increasing her pace and her ability to get that shot off. And as you've mentioned, she has scored some very timely goals early in the season for us, and being in grade 11 has really seized the advantage or the opportunity she's had to play up the middle, and she's found some real good chemistry with Marley Rutherford, who is a grade 12 forward who has battled through some injuries and is really just coming into her own, and somebody who I would think who I would say has been a late bloomer, and those two have really created some chemistry together, and gives us a whole other dynamic when you consider, we've got Reagh Schutte and Kelsey Huibers and a young one in Ivy Perkin and Carlin Goods, and we've got some skill, both young and as veterans. So, but Paige has proven to be able to put the puck in the net, and that comes from a pretty high end shot for a grade 11 kid.
Yeah, and there's been other players putting the puck in the net besides Paige, like you said, Schutte, Perkin. A daughter of yours, and Hallie Franklin, has been able to pot 2 goals for herself. What's it been like being able to coach Hallie this season and her year in Westman this year?
It's been, it's been great to be kind of reunited. I coached her for quite a few years when she was younger, and through the pandemic, we kind of got interrupted in her U15 programming, but and then it was 2 years away. So to be back on the bench with her, I mean, you know what it's like with a dad and a teenager. We have to keep our distance and mind our P's and Q's from time to time, but it's been fun to be part of that. And you're right, it hasn't just been Hallie there, Callie Hillhorst and a number of our defense have contributed offensively in these first couple of months. So it's been, we've had a lot of support both from the back end and our forwards with offense.
Yeah, being able to have the whole unit be able to get things done when on ice, that's a huge part of success as well, if you're going to have it in any hockey league. But Freddie Nelson had raved about this team's defense and talking about how you guys probably have the best 5-6 defense in the league in terms of the bottom pairing throughout the MFHL. Talk about how huge it's been to not only have that high-end skill so far this year on the defense, but as well as having an overall solid decor.
Yeah, we made a decision, Graham, at the beginning of the year, just simply because we have 3 grade 12s on defense this year, and knew that we, for the future of the program, it was important to bring on some youth, and so we are carrying 7 defensemen, which can be a challenge to find everybody the ice time, early on, and the adjustment that they're facing. So with those, it just came to a point where, the Cadence Mann and Devin Monker are 2 grade 10 defensemen that we wanted to keep, and we didn't want to lose them. And we think that they have a real future with the program. And you round that out with 2nd-year defenseman Haley Blaine, and that's probably our younger group of defensemen, a little less experienced. Trying to get them into as many situations as we can, because we know that down the road for this program, those 3 are going to have to play a really key role. And then for sure, as you mentioned, with Hillhorst, Stutsky, Vines, and Franklin have got 2-3 years of experience, and we're going to really need to rely on them heavily, because we haven't talked about it yet, but the elephant in the room is we have 2 goaltenders who are grade 9, and they are pretty young, and they're going to need a good, strong, structural defensive core in front of them for us to continue to have success.
Well, yeah, speaking of the goaltenders, Danica Averill and Kylie Hack have both picked up a win so far this year. Averill has seen more of the net starting 4 games or playing 4 games compared to Hack's two. Averill so far undefeated, 3-0-1, that one figure coming as an OT win, 944 save percentage. Like you mentioned, a grade 9 in the room along with Hack. Talk about how impressive it's been to see these two goaltenders go to work so far this year.
Yeah, it's they're 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 a real positive pair. They really feed off each other. They're not only are they goaltending partners, but they're really good friends and support one another. And yeah, they're two different goalies. Danica has she's got a little bit bigger in stature and covers a little bit more of the net, and um, yet Kylie's very technical and athletic and can match all those moves that Danica is able to do as well. And so we've been really impressed with we know we're going to have our ups and downs with goaltenders that are that young, but it was something that we felt for the future of the program, and based on where those girls were at this fall, that we decided to go with those two, and they haven't disappointed.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, the team only has 12 goals against through 6 games. That's an average of only 2 against per game. So, yeah, going to be interesting to see what happens there as the season goes along in the pipes. But for this team coming up on the weekend, huge matchup against the Westman Wildcat or against the Yellowhead Chiefs. Huge matchup against the Yellowhead Chiefs coming up. It's a rematch of the semifinals, first meeting of the season between these two clubs this season coming up. It's a team that is first place currently in the standings. You're all looking to knock them down a peg or two, but talk about how exciting it is heading into this very anticipated matchup coming up in Shoal Lake on Saturday night.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it's going to be a challenge, and that team is going to be ready for us. And when we talk about physicality, when you can talk about compete level, they're going to be right near the top all year, I think, and right from their forwards all the way back to Natalie Rampton at the back end. They've got a good depth team through and through. So we'll have our hands full. We're going to have to use our team speed, but we're also going to have to win some physical battles against them as well. So that'll be a true test. Yeah, we may be 4-2, but going into Yellowhead and then into Winnipeg the following day to play the ice, this will be a challenge this weekend, no question.
You feel like this is going to be a good test, a good measuring stick to see where this group is truly at and what needs to be worked on moving forward to continue to sustain a high level?
I would agree, and I don't want to take anything away from, when you look at teams like Interlake and Central Plains that maybe don't have quite as much depth. That Interlake with Rachel Halderson is with a Team Manitoba goaltender, and Central Plains has got Elise Denbo, and she's a Team Manitoba goaltender, and so those teams they're going to be just as difficult to beat on certain nights. But yeah, the measuring stick I think is going to be Yellowhead, and the Ice and the Avros are going to be teams that are going to be pushing to be at the top 4 of the league throughout the year.
Well, we'll have to see what happens this weekend coming up, as Westman has 2 big early season matchups coming up on the weekend. Interim head coach, that is, of the Westman Wildcats, Tony Franklin, joining me for this episode 2 hours before it premieres. Coach, thanks for taking the time and best of luck moving forward.
Thanks, Graham. Appreciate the coverage for our league and our team.
And happy to be able to promote the league, Tony, as Mr. Franklin, the man himself, head coach, interim head coach, that is, of the Westman Wildcats, joining this edition of the MFHL podcast for episode 2, brought to you by Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, Terraco, and Goaltenders. And I want to do something here. I'm afraid that this is going to crash because of it. I just want to get the updated standings in here, because I pulled the ones from last week that I ended up going off of. Let's see if this ends up working. I hope it does. Where would these be? Here we go. So yeah, these are the updated standings for the MFHL where teams currently sit after the first 6 games played at the most for teams like the Chiefs, Wildcats, and Pembina Valley Hawks. The Winnipeg Ice have played the fewest games, but that'll change as the season goes along, of course. The Yellowhead Chiefs, of course, in first place with 10 points. Westman right on their heels at 8 points. This matchup this weekend on Saturday in Shoal Lake is going to be a huge one between the two teams with this early season push for in the standings. And yeah, it's going to be exciting for everyone that is in person to watch that one. These two teams, of course, have faced off against each other in the past 2 seasons in the MFHL semifinals, where the Westman Wildcats have gotten the better of Yellowhead first in 4 games in 2021-2022, the year Westman won the championship, and then once again last year, the Yellowhead taking them to 5 games, but Westman just getting the better of their rivals from Shoal Lake. And speaking of Westman Wildcats players, I had a chance to talk to Kelsey Huibers, number 10, and a returning forward to this year's Westman Wildcats team. I had a chance to speak to her about her thoughts on new head coach and Tony Franklin, this year's group of girls, the past 2 seasons she's had to experience with the team, winning a championship as well as losing in the finals to the very same Winnipeg Ice team. And I also had a chance to ask her about the upcoming weekend that her team has facing off against the Yellowhead Chiefs and Winnipeg Ice. You're watching the MFHL podcast for episode 2 here on G-Show Productions. Coming up next, my interview with Kelsey Huibers here on the network. And joining me now is number 10 of the Westman Wildcats and Kelsey Huibers, a third-year forward on a 4-2 Wildcats team that's off to another strong start. Kelsey, thanks for coming on the show tonight and joining me. How's things been so far in another year in Westman?
Obviously so good. Well, we had a pretty good start this season. Lost the first 2 games, but came back last weekend and the weekend before. Won all 4 after that. We've had some building to do from the start, but such a great group of girls, and just think like we have a far ways to come, but we're improving each game, and it's just such a great group, and I think we'll do good this year. So.
Yeah, some new faces on this year's team, 8 rookies, 12 returning players, you being one of them. What's that been in terms of the dynamic of having that compared to last year where the team had so much returning talent, as well as dealing with the presence of a new head coach in Tony Franklin?
Yeah, it's always good to get new girls, new types of skill, new things to work with, obviously. All the new girls that have came this year, very skilled, adapted well to the league. We got 2 09 goalies. They've done like great so far. Yeah, just a good group. We all get along, work well together. Lots of skill from all age groups. I just think we'll do good. And obviously with new head coach, it's been a change, but he's doing very well also, and we're learning lots. So.
Yeah, and I had a chance to talk to him actually in the interview that was shown before this one that is currently happening as we're doing it right now. But saying that he's been able to keep some of the similar things of Guy Williams, and Guy Williams has also been able to let him use his own coaching style. What's that been like, being able to learn some new things as well as still keeping with some of the old things that Guy has influenced on this team for your first 2 years there?
Yeah. So it's nice having different views, perspectives. Obviously, Guy is a great coach, and Tony comes with his new set of like skills and ideas. So it's just awesome hearing like both sides and being able to learn like everything from everyone.
For you, you've been here for 3 seasons now, as mentioned. You had a chance to be a part of Westman's championship team in 2021, 2022, as well as the team that went to the finals last season. But going back to that championship year, you, as a rookie, making a huge impact on that team that season in terms of the goals you were able to score. Just take me back to the year it was in 2021, 2022, when this Wildcats team went on that championship run in the postseason.
Um, yeah, seems like a long time ago, but yeah, I just honestly was so like honored to be able to join Westman and play for a team like that. I feel like the reason we were so successful that year is just because we got along as a group. Like I feel like it's really important as a team to like each other. I feel like we were just a big family, all positive, supportive to each other. I feel like that really helped us win. And yeah.
Yeah, and almost perfect during the playoffs. Of course, sweeping the Winnipeg Ice in the finals, only losing 1 game to the Yellowhead Chiefs. This team was kind of an underdog heading into that semifinals, though, going back to it against Yellowhead, a team that this Westman Wildcats organization has faced in the past 2 semifinals of the playoffs. What was that like getting over the hump then to make it to the finals, taking down a team that did better than you guys in the regular season that year?
Obviously, yeah, playoffs was a grind. Coming into playoffs with such a young team, like we had to really work for it. I think we were just positive throughout the whole process. We we used each other and our work ethic. We weren't the most skilled team on the ice, but we worked the hardest and we worked the best with each other. And I feel like that's just what really helped us come to the top.
Yeah, and you were one of those players that was new to that young team, making a huge impact in the playoffs with the 3 goals, 2 assists you had. You had 9 goals in the regular season for that team. Talk about that year of growth for yourself, coming into a new environment and being able to be such a huge contributor to a young team around you, like you said.
Yeah, obviously coming from U15 to U18 is big jump. Had some great role models on U18 my first year that I really looked up to. I feel like I just had to really work hard coming in. I wasn't the biggest player, but um, got work done, whatever. Got shots on net. I feel like yeah, a lot of growth came from that year.
Yeah, and in the next season, you were able to be an even bigger playoff time performer with the 7 goals tied for the team lead. The team finished first place that season, so improving on the regular season before. Made it to the finals, but ended up getting swept against the Winnipeg Ice. Talk about, that experience of this time being the team that everyone wanted to be to the finals run that the team ended up going on.
Yeah, we had honestly that year we had a great season. Felt like we went into playoffs with a lot of confidence, skill. Obviously, Winnipeg Ice, we had lots of close games with them during the season. I feel like we competed with them, but obviously they're a strong team, and I'm not disappointed in how it ended up. Like they're a strong team. I feel like they deserve to win, and just how it went.
Yeah, great to know that you weren't disappointed at least. I mean, winning the year in the finals before, I'm sure that kind of made things a bit easier to handle, but
Yeah.
kind of interesting. You girls sweep them the year before they sweep you in last year's finals rematch, of course. Talk about the different things you took away from both the sweep the year before and getting swept the next year in terms of the 2022-2023 finals.
Um, yeah, I feel like honestly, lots of things to take away from both seasons. Um, I feel like we've always, as a team, just been strong and at the top. Like I feel like that's something we really value as a team. We always work hard to sustain um, strength and being at the top of the leaderboard during the season. Seasons have been like that for us. I look forward to just striving for that this year and working towards it, just like past years.
Yeah, and like mentioned, for this season so far, the team is 4-2. You've been able to put up some points. Talk about, how you feel like you've been able to get off to the successful start you have so far in your third year with this Wildcats team.
Yeah, I feel like just bringing in my own leadership qualities. I feel like I work hard to lead by example on the ice, bring lots of energy to the team, work ethic, always bringing the team up, spreading positivity. Like someone makes a mistake, just pick their head up and just keep working hard. And yeah.
You spoke about how it's always exciting to see new faces in and the skill that these new faces can bring. But what about in terms of the off ice terms of bonding that this team has been able to do in terms of the returning players with the rookies coming in to, buy in completely to what this team wants to try to accomplish this year, which I assume is getting back to another finals, or at least trying to go on a deep postseason run.
Yeah. New girls just been great. Really understood, and we've already like bonded. Like I feel like we're just a big family in the dressing room. Like we all just support each other and positive towards each other, and yeah, we just have great relationships with each other. I think that's one of the most important things.
Yeah, of course. That's a huge part of championship success and something that obviously you experienced in that first year with Westman, with how close that team came to being with each other. But you had spoken about how in the first season it was a team that didn't have the most skill, but a team that worked hard. Obviously, a very skilled team last year, and lost some key players heading into this year, but still a lot of skilled players returning out of the 12. Can you speak to what you think is going to make this year's Westman Wildcats team as successful as you players are hoping to be with, in terms of what you girls bring to the table out there on ice?
Yeah. So this year, I just think like, especially with a lot of new young girls, especially two new young goalies, which who have done great so far. I just think we gotta work hard all season. Like it's not gonna come easy. Gonna kind of trust the process. Work hard all year just to grow each game, each weekend, get better as a team on the ice. And I think it'll just work out how it's supposed to.
For you girls, your next matchup is in Shoal Lake this Saturday night against the Yellowhead Chiefs. First meeting between the two clubs for this season since last year's semifinal series. Is there a certain level of excitement going to Yellowhead compared to other arenas that this Wildcats team comes to play with?
Yeah, for sure. Going to Shoal always there's just that animosity between the two teams, just a high compete level. Like we're really competitive towards each other. Yeah, it's just the energy in the rink is always just fun to play. It's always intense, rough. I love playing them. It's awesome.
Yeah, for sure. You'd say you're one of those players that thrives in the more physical situations and the more chaotic environments in the league.
I think so. Yeah, I feel like the energy just like brings me, especially others. I think yeah, just the energy and intensity just like gets me going kind of sometimes.
This is a huge upcoming weekend for this Wildcats team, Kelsey. As first you got Yellowhead on the Saturday night, and then the Winnipeg Ice, a team, of course, you all faced off in the finals against last season. But talk about the mindset heading into this weekend. Two big matchups coming up from a player's side of things.
Um, yeah, just got to go into it. We're like obviously expect them to be hard, expect them to be good, fast. Got to play at that intensity, got to bring our A game, um, be quick all over pucks, just got to come in with the mindset to work. Um, yeah, it's just going to be tough games. We got to come in ready to work and with that intensity kind of thing.
Well, it'll be interesting to see what type of intensity ensues in these games this upcoming weekend for those that will be in attendance as well for how the players are going to play. But thank you for doing this, Kelsey, for coming on the second edition of the MFHL podcast here on G Show Productions. Best of luck to you and the rest of the Wildcats coming up this weekend against Yellowhead and Winnipeg.
Thank you very much.
And not Kelsey Huibers, it's Kelsey Huibers, number 10 of the Westman Wildcats, joining this edition of the MFHL podcast for episode 2, brought to you by, of course, our lovely sponsors, Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, Terraco, and Goaltenders. And yeah, in terms of what Kelsey's been able to do this season, she's not off to the hottest start. She only has 1 goal in 6 games played, but she's proven she can put the puck in the back in the net before and be a big-time goal scorer for this Westman Wildcats team, and there's a long season ahead, so that could change very well soon. But speaking of the points leaders in the league, it's currently Stephanie Jacob of the Winnipeg Ice, their team captain, leading all players in points with 10 in only the 4 games still, which is still so impressive. The start she's been able to have this year and been big time for the Winnipeg Ice. Paige Crossley is second with 8 points in 6 games played. A big time player for Westman so far this year, leading the way offensively. And our next guest, Hannah Reagh, is third in points, this year's team captain for the Yellowhead Chiefs. If you want to check out all of the stats in terms of where the players near the top stack up, be sure to visit MFHL U18AAA.com to check out all that info. But yeah, Hannah Reagh joins me next on this edition of the show. She's in her 4th season now with the Yellowhead Chiefs. She was an assistant captain last year, became the captain of the team this year. She leads all Yellowhead Chiefs players in points so far this season, and from speaking to her, she has a lot of confidence in her team. I had a chance to ask her about the past 2 seasons and not being able to get over the hump against the Westman Wildcats in those semifinal series, and also taking a look into the weekend ahead for this Yellowhead Chiefs team, where they, of course, face off against the Westman Wildcats, and they having to come to Shoal Lake to face off against their rivals for the first time this year. You're watching the MFHL podcast for episode 2, brought to you by Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, Terraco, and Goaltenders. Hannah Reagh, captain of the Yellowhead Chiefs, coming up next here on the show. Joining me for the final guest on this week's edition of the MFHL podcast is Hannah Reagh, captain of the Yellowhead Chiefs in her 4th season with the team now. Hannah, the team's off to a fantastic start so far this year, 5-1. What's the experience been like so far this year of donning the Yellowhead Chiefs jersey once again?
It's great. Considering we have 5 new girls this year, we're not as young as last year, but we're still having fun, winning games, and it's great. Chemistry's good in the room, on and off the ice, so it's awesome.
Great to hear. And those are all things that go into being a successful hockey team in terms of having that chemistry and having that bond already. 16 returning players, only 5 new players, like you said. Would you say that the team's been able to start faster because of that fact alone?
Totally. Even myself, playing just 5 games as my first season, you totally get an idea of what the league is compared to the U15 level. So having more girls know what the U18 level is helps our little girls out, definitely.
We'll continue talking about this season as things go along, but you got to Yellowhead 4 seasons ago in the COVID season. Things shut down then, of course. Then in your 2nd season with the team finished in 2nd place, but can't quite get it done in the postseason, losing 5 games to the Westman Wildcats. Take me back to that year, though, of learning, even though it wasn't the outcome that you girls exactly wanted at the time.
Like I said, playing just 5 games in the U18 totally led to where I am today as a player, and my coaches taught me so much, like Derek Tibbetts. I'm so thankful for him to be my coach. He's great on and off the ice. He's totally got me to where I am today.
Right on. And for Derek, speak about the things that he's been able to do for you and the other players on the team to help you develop throughout this time you spent there.
Getting to the next level, like Derek's always there to help you contact schools, get in the groove, and he's just no words to describe Derek. It's just he's great. He's great.
Right on, right on. For you, outside of the influence that Derek Tibbetts has had on you, how would you say that you've been able to grow in terms of your skill on ice throughout your first 2 full seasons in the league?
Like as a person,
As a person, as a player as well, in terms of your skill level.
the Chiefs program is definitely just an outstanding program to be in, not just because of the coaches, but also because of the girls growing in the dressing room on and off the ice. And that's helped me definitely to play at my full potential every game and to let the little girls know that it's okay to make mistakes. And it's just so good to be in the Yellowhead program.
Last season was a bit different compared to your second year when the team finished second, lost in 5 to the Wildcats in the semifinals. A worse record than in that second year. Like you said, a lot of new girls to the team, so a younger team last season. Speak about what it was like being more of that veteran presence on last year's team, also wearing the assistant captaincy letter and, going through what you girls went through last year with that group.
It was good. Like our leadership group last year was good. We were good. We all got to know each other in a different perspective, I'd say, and we learned a lot by letting the non-leaders know different things. But everyone in the room is a leader, not even if you don't have a letter on your chest, you're still a leader in the Yellowhead program.
Right, for sure. And that's I think a good message. The players with the letters aren't above the rest of the team, which is,
Totally.
but going back to, the results that season compared to the season before, like I said, second in the regular season, you girls finished in 2021, 2022. Last season finishing in that 4th place spot. Could you talk about what that journey was like to get back to the semifinals, to that stage with the younger group of girls?
After Christmas is always a big jump, obviously, is to see who's actually in it to take it to the end. So it's always a battle against Westman, obviously, but considering we took them to game 5 last year is awesome considering how young we were last year. And it's just an experience, obviously, being in semifinals, not making to that final spot, obviously, but it's still the experience that we learn from.
Could you go more into that experience that you feel like this group has heading into this year, the things you girls have learned from the year before, losing in 4 games to the team, to last season, losing in 5, obviously, and not reaching that goal of the finals, but being close at that? Talk about how huge that is, having those experiences heading into this year.
It's huge considering that there's 16 of us that know what semis is, know what the speed is, know what the rinks like, knowing what we need to do to improve to get to that final spot. So for our returning players, it definitely helps to have more to let these little girls know what the semifinals is about and the playoff experience, because it's so different from the regular season.
Yeah, and who knows better than the 16 returning players heading into this year for sure. But 5-1 first place to start things off, 17 goals for, 5 goals against. Speak about what you've seen outside of having, of course, that returning energy to the squad, but in terms of how this team has played, what's made you guys been able to get off to such a fast start this year and being the number 1 team?
Our goalies. Our goalies are very strong this year. Either one in net, we're confident by playing with either Nat or Claire in net. So that's helped us a lot. Our defense, we only have one new girl, so letting those 5 defense let her know about everything is great. And our forwards are just unstoppable. I think offensively and defensively, we are unstoppable.
Unstoppable, a huge term, and obviously confidence in that term for sure. Do you think that's also a huge thing into this year's, just how much confidence this Yellowhead Chiefs team can play with in a game in, game out basis?
Yeah, we don't want to be overconfident, but we're confident enough to be confident, if that makes sense. So it's great that everyone isn't shy or scared to get in the dirty areas like we need them to be. So it's great.
You have a chance to wear the C this year on this year's team, upgrading from the A last year. Like you said, a letter doesn't put anyone above anyone else, but must have been pretty special for you to be donning the C this year for this year's Chiefs team.
Totally, it was. I was excited that I can lead by example for all the girls on our team, and to not only let the little girls know the dressing room, but to let everybody know that we're a family. And like I said, doesn't matter if I have the C or not. We're all leaders in the room, and that's what I like about the Yellowhead program. But it's great to have the C on to let us all be a big family.
Obviously, it's all about the team success, but for you individually this year, you have 7 points. You're third in the league in that ranking when it comes to putting up point production. Can you speak to your game individually, where you think your game, in terms of your skill set, you feel has taken its biggest jump this season compared to other years?
Yeah, it has. Just because this is my 4th year, I know the speed, know most of the goalies in the league, know most of the players in the league. So it's definitely helped my scoring and points, but I try not to look at that very much because I'm just there to have fun and put up points also, but also be fair enough.
No, fair enough. And having fun at the end of the day, most
Totally.
important thing when it comes to
Yes.
playing a sport, especially one you love in hockey. But the past weekend in Minnesota, the team just came back. Talk about, what went down, what the bonding experience was like this past weekend in Minnesota.
It was great. Last year I don't think we won a game, so we went 2-2 this year, which also is bringing up our confidence as we play Team Colorado, Team Dallas. These teams we've never seen or played before. So that also got us together and confidence on the ice. But as our bonding experience off the ice on the bus, it was a family, like with no fighting, no drama. It's the last thing we need is bonding on the bus is great, which leads into the dressing room, leads to wins, leads to a good team.
That's great to hear. You were able to come away with 2 wins this past weekend in terms of how it's gone in the past with the no wins. But you talk about how playing different teams like you haven't played before, in teams like Colorado, for example. Do you feel like it's key to play teams like this to take away parts of their game that you could potentially use to, help benefit each other as a team coming back here to play in Manitoba?
Totally. Like playing these different teams, we know that they're stronger than most of them could be stronger than the teams in the MFHL league. So while playing these tougher, taller, older, as they're 19U teams, we can bring this back to our league and have a better understanding of what we need to work on in our league and play better in our league. So it's great playing these different teams to bring it back home.
Well, great that the team was able to build some extra confidence after this weekend in Minnesota, because it's a huge test coming up for you girls, the rematch against the Westman Wildcats from last year's semifinals. First meeting of the season between the two teams. This game being played in Shoal Lake, what I've heard, probably maybe the toughest place to play in the league. Could you speak to that first off, of what makes it so tough for teams to come into Shoal Lake to try to beat the Yellowhead Chiefs?
I think it starts off with our caretaker, Dan. Always got the signs up outside, just getting the teams rattled right when they walk through that door. You know, teams don't like Show Lake very much, so our crowd base is big, our horn's big, our music's loud. So I think coming to Show Lake for other teams I wouldn't want to be another team.
This is a big game, especially for these returning players, knowing what Westman has done with their group in the past 2 seasons in the playoffs against this Yellowhead Chiefs organization. Obviously, an early regular season game, but is there a lot of motivation heading into this weekend, especially knowing that Westman has taken you girls down the past 2 years?
Yes, this is going to be a strong, tough game to play this weekend. We need all 20 girls to be head in, know what to do, and we need to win. This is going to be the tester right here. If we beat Westman, you know, we could go very, very, very far in the league. So I'm excited. I'm hyped to play this weekend, especially in our own barn. I hate going to Hartney also, so I'm excited to Show Lake this weekend.
Well, I'm sure Westman would say the same. Going to Show Lake, Hayden to play there. Hannah Reagh, captain of this year's Yellowhead Chiefs team and their leading point getter, joining me on this edition of the MFHL podcast. Hannah, best of luck to you and the Chiefs coming up this weekend at home in Shoal Lake on Saturday against Westman.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Of course. And Hannah Reagh of the Yellowhead Chiefs, captain of this year's squad, joining me on this edition of the MFHL podcast. She'll be the final guest for this week's episode. Stay tuned for next week's episode, as we'll have more guests in terms of players and coaches from around the Manitoba Female U18 AAA Hockey League. And it's going to be exciting when G-Show Productions, when we get to go broadcast games, live stream this league, because there's a lot of talent on display, and for sure when we live stream a game between the Yellowhead Chiefs or the Westman Wildcats, the Winnipeg guys, so really anyone, you know it's going to be an entertaining game for sure. So we're excited to bring you folks that this season. And yeah, just going back to the point leaders, Hannah Reagh has been really good to start this season. 7 points in 6 games played. She's been over a point per game in her first 2 regular seasons with the Yellowhead Chiefs. In terms of the goal categories, she doesn't show up in the top 5 there, but Dara Thompson does with 5 goals so far this year. The leading goal scorer on this Yellowhead Chiefs team just shows how many weapons that this team truly has. Not just Thompson, not just Reagh, but Reagh, of course, speaking to the depth that this Chiefs team has this year. A very dangerous team, and when we take a look at the assists, Hannah Reagh, top 5 there at 5 assists, tied for second actually in the category. Going to be interesting to see if this top 5 changes throughout the season, but a thing that's been so huge for the Yellowhead Chiefs this season, outside of their production of their players, is their goaltending, and it starts with Natalie Rampton, currently undefeated, leads the league in shutouts, and also has the best save percentage in the league so far, stopping 120 shots out of the 123 she's faced so far this year. And of course, Claire Merchant, I'm not sure if I pronounced that wrong. She's only been able to play 1 game with the Yellowhead Chiefs, losing the contest that they went up against earlier on this season. To check out all of the full stats from the MFHL, be sure to go visit their website at MFHLU18AAA.com. But we'll show you the standings once again heading into this next week of action. The Yellowhead Chiefs on top, of course, with the 5-1 record at 10 points, but Westman is right behind them, and that is going to be a huge game this Saturday night, as we've already talked about it so much on this episode already. But the Chiefs at home at 7:30 p.m. to take on the Westman Wildcats at Shoal Lake on Saturday night. The rest of the action for that day, the Winnipeg Ice playing against the Pembina Valley Hawks at the Access Event Center in Morden, Manitoba. The Central Plains Capitals visit Seven Oaks Arena to take on the Winnipeg Avros at 7:30 p.m. Central Time, and the Eastman Selects in Stonewall to take on the Interlake Lightning at 7:30 p.m. The Ice Hawks game goes at 5:15 p.m. Going to Friday's action, there's only going to be one game the day before. The 4 games will be slotted on that Saturday, and it's the Winnipeg Ice back into action to take on the Central Plains Capitals. This one will be in Portage La Prairie at 7:45 p.m. as the puck drop at the BDO Center for the community. To wrap up this weekend of action in the MFHL, the Chiefs will be also playing on the Sunday in the afternoon in Shoal Lake, so a homestand for them this weekend going up against the Eastman Selects, who, as we take a look at the standings, are 1 point behind only the Westman Wildcats with 1 less game played. So huge game coming up there for the Eastman Selects in their weekend, and the Pembina Valley Hawks host the Winnipeg Avros at the Access Event Center at 5:15 p.m. on Sunday, October 29th. The Avros have played the least games out of anyone in the league so far. They got a 2-1 record. They'll be getting their games in this weekend for sure. There's that tie between the Pembina Valley Hawks and the Winnipeg Ice, so that game on Saturday is going to be a crucial early season game for both of these teams, and of course the Interlake Lightning and Central Plains Capital still the only winless teams in the league, except for Interlake Lightning. They took the Westman Wildcats to OT this past weekend, so that's a plus for them. Backstopped by Rachel Halderson, Team Manitoba goaltender this season. Central Plains, on the other hand, no points yet, 0-5 on the season, something they'll be looking to change this weekend coming up. We're going to take one last transition in this episode. I'll be back for some final words here next on the MFHL podcast for episode 2 here on G Show Productions, brought to you by Mid-Canada Fasteners and Tools, Terraco, and Goaltenders. Well, you made it to the end of another edition of the MFHL podcast for episode 2. Before I end things off here, I want to thank all of the viewers for tuning into this one. We currently got 12 watching at this point, which is absolutely phenomenal. Hoping that this support keeps up, and hoping we can keep this level of content going. I've been your host, Graham the G Show Forsyth. Special thanks to Tony Franklin, head coach of the Westman Wildcats, Haley Huibers of the Westman Wildcats as well, forward for that team, and captain of the Yellowhead Chiefs, and Hannah Reagh, for joining me this week. Like I said earlier, we are going to have more guests from around the MFHL joining next week's edition of the show on Monday night at 9 p.m. Central Time, so stay tuned for that one on our social media pages. And by the way, we're also on Facebook now. I've just created a page, G Show Productions. That's where you can find us there, and we'll start uploading content in terms of the MFHL there very soon, while tagging all the teams and stuff, so we can get some collaboration going. But special thanks, of course, to the sponsors of this episode as well, and Mid-Canada Fasteners, your one-stop shop for all your industrial needs. Be sure to visit their stores in Brandon and Winnipeg today. That's where they're located. Also to Terraco, who's been serving Manitoba producers in the agricultural industry for over 80 years. Visit their website at Terraco.ca to learn more. And of course to Goaltenders, thank you to them for sponsoring this edition of the MFHL podcast, your goalie's personal video review service. Check out Gordy Tumilson's service and what he has to offer at GordyTumilsonGoalies.ca. Big weekend coming up in the MFHL with some pretty huge early season matchups in terms of jockeying for position in the standings, as I should say. We'll have all of the updates on all of it coming up next week on the next episode of the MFHL podcast for episode 3. But until next Monday, folks, once again, I've been your host, Graham the G Show Forsyth, giving you the salute, peacing out, and saying so long, wishing you a wonderful rest of your weekend, all the safety to you all, and enjoy the great hockey coming your way, MFHL fans, this weekend in the best female hockey league for U18s in the province. Take care, everybody. See you next week.